Thank you, darling. Beautiful. Look at you. Have a good time, everybody.
Maria.
Have a good time, everybody.
If we win Nevada, we win the whole thing. We win the whole thing.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Democrats are not going to like Trump's latest announcement, a policy proposal that I am 100% on board with. It actually, I think it's something that libertarians should like quite a bit, right? They should love this proposal from Trump that is probably going to be scaring the Democrats. They're going to be pissed off that they didn't think about doing this, but the reason why they didn't think about doing it is because Democrats have absolutely zero interest on lowering taxes or letting people keep more of their own money, okay? But Trump, though, on the other hand, is thinking about how to provide some relief to workers who earn tips, okay? Workers who have to live off of tips. That is typically people that work in restaurants or hotels or some type of service job. He's saying, listen, I am going to petition Congress to get rid of the tax on tips. And the crowd erupted at the Nevada rally that he was holding where he announced this policy. And I want you guys to take a look at this clip of him making this announcement, because I think this is just one of many genius moves that Trump has made over the past few months. Take a look.
This is the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. We're not going to do it, and we're going to do that right away, first thing in office, because it's been a point of contention for years and years and years, and you do a great job of service, you take care of people, and I think it's going to be something that really is deserved. More importantly, popular or unpopular. I do some unpopular things, too, if it's right for the country. I do what's right. But so those people that have jobs in restaurants, whatever the job may be, a tipping job, we're not going after for taxes anymore. This will be ended. And I announced that for the first time I've brought it up. First time anyone's brought it up. I think it's never been brought up before, and I also think it's very appropriate.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that, okay? So, again, this is just another example of Trump running circles around Democrats, and I think this policy proposal from Trump is probably one of the best policy proposals that I've heard from him, okay, during his campaign, because it really does help working class Americans when it comes to their wages, right? This is a way to increase their wages without a handout or without more government intervention, okay? Like, for example, Democrats, all they want to do is, again, it's just to give people money, right? Like, for example, student loan debt relief. That is a handout. That money's not theirs, and relieving student loan debt is just basically allowing people to keep money, again, that did not belong to them, right? Also, when you look at increasing the minimum wage, that is the government intervening in the private market and basically telling companies, hey, you must pay workers X amount, even if the market doesn't dictate it, which leads to massive job losses and inefficiencies. We're seeing that happen in places like Seattle, in places like California, where they have rapidly increased the minimum wage. Now, this policy from Trump just allows workers to keep more of their own money, right? Hey, if you work, and somebody decides that, hey, I'm going to give you $20 for your work or $30 in a tip for your work, then you get to keep it. Okay? It's not taxed. And I think that is an excellent way to help people who are working hard, okay, without more government intervention. In fact, this is less government. Now, I'm going to get deeper into why I think that this is a genius move by Trump. But first, I want to go ahead and play this news clip of CBS covering this rally, because even they're going to admit that this policy has the potential to really get working class voters on board with the Trump agenda. So without further ado, let's get into it.
He held a rally in Las Vegas over the weekend. Part of his strategy out west is to win more voters in traditionally blue states. And he also unveiled a new policy that he plans to enact if elected.
So this is the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
All right, CBS News campaign reporter Olivia Rinaldi is following this from Las Vegas. Got a big cheer from the audience there. I mean, I'm just going to throw something out there, having been a waitress for a period of time. I don't know how many tips get actually thrown in there for taxes when people are filling out their tax forms, but you're supposed to. You're supposed to file including your tips. Can you explain Trump's strategy here?
Well, listen, that's not the point, right? That's besides the point. The point is that the federal government, in my opinion, probably shouldn't be taxing tips anyways. And yes, it is true that a lot of people don't report their tips on their tax forms like, they're required to do. But again, that is the whole point, that you're no longer required to do that, right? Because, yeah, a lot of people, again, avoid taxation of tips by just not reporting it. But at the same time, when you do that, you always take the risk of the IRS coming after you for it, right? This is why Democrats are trying so hard to increase the IRS workforce, because they want to tax the middle class more, right? And that's an easy way to do it. Hey, let's go after these service workers who aren't reporting their tips, right? This is what they tend to do, okay? So, again, the point is that even if you don't report your tips on your taxes, which you should, right? But if you don't do it, Trump's policy proposal will make it so, hey, you don't even have to do it, okay? It's something that is not any concern of the IRS, and you don't have to live being worried about whether or not the IRS is going to audit you or come after you for not reporting your tips on your taxes, right? That is the whole point, okay? People should not have to live in fear of the IRS coming after them because they want to keep more of the money that they earn, right? So I think that, these service jobs that already pay lower wages because of the expectation of tipping, I think that this definitely is a boost to those jobs and those industries and those workers with this proposal.
Yeah, good morning, Emery. This was a huge announcement from the former president. And you mentioned there, this is crucial for service workers like waiters and waitresses, especially hotel workers here in Las Vegas. And I will note, it did get a very loud applause line at the rally yesterday in Las Vegas. But back to that point about the taxes on tips, a big announcement from the former president. Basically, what this means is that any wages that are earned through tips, Trump is saying we would no longer add taxes on them. That is something that people are required to report to the IRS, as you mentioned. But kind of speaking to that broader point, that's not something Trump can do right away. That is something that actually needs Congress's approval. So while it was a big announcement from the former president, it is something that will have to go through Congress. However, I did talk with some...
Yeah, so before she gets into this, I want to make it be known that one of the reasons why this is genius, even though it does have to go through Congress, it's not something Trump can do unilaterally, is it because it now forces Democrats to play defense against a policy proposal that will be wildly popular, right? We're talking about what effectively is a wage increase for service workers, okay? People that, generally speaking, people think of as at, the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder in regards to earnings, okay? Which, those are the type of people that Democrats try to appeal to, even though their policies end up hurting those people really in the long run. But those are the people that Democrats really try to appeal to, okay? Republicans can easily turn the tables on Democrats by pushing legislation like this and forcing Democrats to vote against it, right? Imagine Trump gets elected in office and he makes a whole big thing about ending taxes on tips. All of these service workers across the country will be rallying around Trump. And then you put the spotlight on Democrats who will be forced to vote against a wage increase, right? They either got to get on board with it or they have to vote against it, right? And if they vote against it, again, that will be a major blow to Democrats and their claims of how, well, we're for the working class and Republicans are the party of the rich, right? This is what they claim. And this is why I think that Republicans really should focus more on these types of proposals that people can rally behind. There's good Republican policy. The problem is that Republicans are afraid to push their good Republican policy for fear of backlash from Democrats, okay? And Republicans should not be playing that game. They should be pushing their policy and making Democrats play defense. Usually it's Democrats who are the ones that are pushing a policy, and then Republicans have to come out and explain why they don't want to get on board with it. But it really should be the other way around. And I think that, again, proposals like this will be a great way to really hurt the Democrats if they choose not to get on board with it. So again, that's why I think that this is genius for so many reasons, right? I can't wait to see how this plays out in Congress. If Trump actually pushes for this, which I don't see why he wouldn't, it would make Democrats look really bad to vote against something like this. It really would. It will hurt them a lot.
Hotel workers yesterday, some service workers here in Las Vegas, about how that is playing with them. And Anne-Marie, about 6 people told me that would change their vote. That is enough to make them switch from voting Democrat to Republican if Donald Trump is promising something like that to them.
As it should. And again, it's not a handout. It is a reward for working. More importantly, it's actually a reward for good quality work, right? Because that is what tips are based off of, right? If you do good work, if people like your work, they're going to tip you more. Okay, so incentivizes workers to provide better service. In exchange, they get to keep more of their own money. Okay, this is the essence of what Republican policy should be. Okay, Republicans should be out here incentivizing people to work, okay, and rewarding those who work the hardest, right? And disincentivizing people not to work. Democrats, on the other hand, they like to incentivize people not to work, and they disincentivize people from working. That's the problem with the Democrat Party, okay? So again, I think that this policy proposal from Trump is this is a game changer. It really is.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's talk about this conviction and whether or not it's had an impact thus far. New CBS News polling indicates that Trump's conviction in his New York case is pretty much a non-factor for voters. What have you been hearing from voters on the West Coast about this?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I, went outside the Strip back into some, suburban areas here in Las Vegas, some grocery stores where I talked to voters and I asked them, does this play at all? And what we've heard time and time again is this conviction really hasn't played with any voters. I spoke with some undecideds who said they still are doing their research. When I asked if a conviction is part of that research, they told me, no, it's not something they're really considering. People are really baked in on this issue. If you feel a certain way about the president, that conviction is going to make you feel more strongly. If you feel positively about the president, you think that people are out to get them. Those are the types of things I hear at that rally. The conviction is not playing with them. If anything, it's really invigorated his base. But for voters who are still not quite sure, it's not really something they're considering, at least of the people I've talked to here. And that's really interesting for Nevada, which is a battleground state, somewhere that Biden is really hoping to win.
That's, I guess it's not surprising, though, because Donald Trump is a known entity, not just as a candidate, but as a president. People know what kind of president he's going to be. And if they've already come to a conclusion as to whether they like him or not, this conviction may not make much of a difference. But let me ask you.
That makes sense. Nobody really should be surprised. Okay, the mainstream little media should be surprised because anybody that's a critical thinker knows that this conviction is a sham, right? It is a result of a political persecution. The New York hush money trial was the one case that was the most political, right? It was obviously the most political, and the American people aren't dumb, right? Despite what the mainstream liberal media thinks, okay? Most people can see the sham that it was, and that's why it doesn't have an effect. So I'm not surprised at all. It shouldn't have an effect. Anybody actually paying attention and that's educated knows that, again, it was political, right? That they only went after Trump because he's the former president, and they want to keep him from becoming president of the United States again. It's really that simple. Everybody knows it's a tactic to try to stop him from getting reelected. And all it really has done thus far is backfire, because even in the polls, Trump's numbers have not declined. If anything, in some polls, his numbers have went up, along with the massive fundraising that Trump has pulled off since the conviction, right? We're talking about some estimates of $200, $300, $400 million, okay? Which is hilarious to me because just a few months ago, the Democrats were talking about how the Trump campaign is broke, right? He's so broke that he has to pay people to come to his rallies, which don't make sense. I'm not sure why you would pay people to come to your rallies if your campaign is broke. That's probably not a good use of money, but you know, Democrats come up with all types of crazy conspiracy theories about Trump. But I'm just saying that so far it looks like it has backfired, right? And again, I'm not surprised that people, including independents, don't care about this, because they shouldn't. The only people that care about this are Trump deranged Democrats. That's it.
How important is it for him to drum up support in that area of the country?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, I mean, this is a crucial part of the country for Donald Trump. On this trip, he visited 2 battleground states. So he was in Arizona last Thursday, and he had the rally in Nevada yesterday. So those are 2 states that he visited, but he also held fundraisers out here. He attended about 4 fundraisers, 3 in California, 1 here in Las Vegas on Saturday evening. A campaign official told me that they raised about $27 million in hard money, a couple extra million for their super PAC. So all very interesting there. We'll need to check with FEC reports to fully confirm those numbers, but that's a lot of money that Trump is getting on these big fundraiser swings, and it kind of speaks to this effort that he's kind of trying to gin up support out here in Arizona, Nevada, Southern California. There's a lot of transplants from Southern California here in Nevada, over in Arizona, in Phoenix, where I was. So that's really interesting there. But someone told me, a source had told me, that if you win Arizona, you win the whole thing. And I think Trump is starting to realize that. This was his first trip to Arizona last week. This is his 3rd trip to Nevada in the last several months since I've been following him. So all very interesting, all kind of this broader effort to really cement his support out here, out west.
Yeah, to me, it seems like as the days continue to move on, okay, from the conviction, it has become very clear that it has backfired, right? It has actually helped Trump. And it's just so funny because, again, out of all of the political persecutions against Trump, that one, the one that was the most obviously political, is the only one that is going to happen before the election. So it seems as of right now. And that one was the one that was most likely to backfire, or for nobody to actually really care about. Okay. And it seems like both of those things are happening. Nobody really cares. And it's also backfired in the sense that it's just kind of motivated people to come out and to vote for Trump more. And you're really starting to see that show up in the polls. You're starting to see it show up when it comes to his donations, his support. I mean, it's growing and growing and growing. I mean, I don't think that the America First movement has ever been as strong as it is today. And it really is something to behold. We are witnessing a great American comeback. We're witnessing history, folks, right? That's exactly what's happening right now. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.